G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and today I want to talk about my 5 best Australian vinyl reissues of 2022. So let's start with a banger. Bored with Feed the Dog on Fantastic Mess, a great reissue label. This one was originally on the label Survival. Came out in 1991. Bored, of course, from Geelong, which we all know for all our favourite Geelong bands like Magic Dirt, Warped, even Frowning Clouds not that very long ago. It's just like been a great scene for a long, long time. They love making a racket. Board formed in 1987. The nucleus, which was Dave Thomas on guitar and vocals and John Nolan on the second guitar. They're actually named after the 1978 single Bored by the Detroit punk rockers Destroy All Monsters, which I believe Ron Ashton was in as well. So, I think that makes sense actually if you think about it, because Bored really have that Ron Ashton guitar sound down pat and that whole Detroit style of punk rock. These guys and before them Radio Birdman worship that scene. So this one, just black on with the great Fantastic Mess logo on the label there. Cool picture in the back. Reimagined artwork. I think the old one was just a picture of a dog's tooth. Might be on the inside here. No, it's not. Some info there. Great shots of the band live in action. Cool stuff. This was the one they released after the era, which featured Tim Hemmensley on lead vocals, he of Powder Monkeys and God, one of our absolute favourites. Probably should be holding up the record too, so you can just enjoy the goodness. As you can imagine, overdriven amplifier shredding, pedal destroying, drum pummeling rock and roll mayhem that could only come from Geelong is what you're going to get. Influenced legions of Australian bands since. Legends in the scene. Bored. Next, speaking of Geelong bands, the Frowning Clouds with their reissue Gospel Sounds and More from the Church of Scientology. This one's on the mighty Anti-Fade label. This one was originally released on cassette on a label called Saturno in 2013. This is the first time it's been on vinyl. Of course, it's got, more of that killer frowning cloud style snotty 60s influence garage punk that these guys just do perfectly. According to Billy Gardner, the founder of Anti-Fade, he reckons that Anti-Fade wouldn't exist without Frowning Clouds getting up off the ground. That's what a boxer does when he gets hit. Without the Frowning Clouds, let's just make it simple and say without them forming. Dementia. It's got its hooks in already, I tell you. All right, these dudes started out as teens. Well, they would have to, because they're all in a bazillion other bands and they're still probably barely 30. In 2006, in 2008, they were asked to play the Great Golden Plains Festival and played regularly ever since. Probably underappreciated in their time, the Frowning... I keep going to say the Frowning Clowns. Jeebus! The Frowning Clouds. Great band, probably more appreciated now. So let's have a look at the record itself. So there's the front cover. Beautiful back cover. What do we got inside? Oh, nice coloured vinyl. A, B. Always get that wrong. Just going to put that one back. And I believe there's a little bit of, not a lot in here. Does this open up? Yes, it does. A big collage of stuff. So, just going to read you a little bit off the interwebs of the history of this record. Here we go. The background of gospel sounds and more from the Church of Scientology. A large chunk of this could be looked at as the Clouds, or the Frowning Clouds, because we don't want to get confused with the other Clouds, the great Sydney band from the 90s. Second album that never come out. After releasing their first record in 2010, they worked up a new set of songs, all of which had a more original sound compared to their first album. But by the time they got into the studio to record with Tim Dunn, they had over 20 songs. Obviously, a lot of them, predominantly the older tracks, didn't make it to the sophomore album, which became Whereabouts, which is an absolute rip snorter as well. Instead, this came out as a European tour cassette that quickly sold through its 100 copies, and the song sat idle on Bandcamp from then afterwards. So yeah, this is almost a comp, I suppose. So it's got the tour tape, a couple of tracks that never come out, plus a handful of singles that weren't included on the albums. And what do you know? Mastered by Mikey Young. He who has fingers in many pies. Next, Orb on Flightless Records. Again, originally a cassette only release. Check that freaking artwork out. How nice is that? These are embryonic recordings showing that these dudes who were Sabbath worshippers already had the big oozy sludge sabby sound that we love, truly in place right from the start. I think the cassette came out on Heavy Chains 2015. It's like dark, sonically massive guitars based rock. It's heavy without sounding like metallic. And again, from Geelong, this is like the Geelong show. Because 3 of the dudes from this band actually come from the Frowning Clouds. Yeah, that's right. Zach Olsen, just got to itch the neck for a second. Daff Groveland and drummer Jamie Harmer. Yeah, at the start they just goofed around playing like these heavy riffs, and yeah, it was a bit tongue in cheek. But even though they're inspired by the doom and psychedelic sounds, they began to really get into it, and yeah, they started to approach it much more seriously. So yeah, 2015, Orb released their debut recording, a 5-song cassette titled Womb, which is this. And then, of course, within a few months, the group had earned a solid reputation around Australian heavy rock fans. And they struck a deal with Flightless, which is, of course, the label founded by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Eric Moore, actually, the former drummer. So let's have a little look-see of what's inside. Quite a lovely package, as you would expect from Flightless. I cannot talk today, sorry. That was going to be Frightless. Well, this is going to be good. Check this shiznit out. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mother, for the rabbits. Beautiful work. Yeah, Australian people watching that would be like, why the F did you say that? It used to be said by some knobhead football commentator. It just comes out. So that was Orb. Now, not from Geelong for a change, the Hard-Ons with their classic Yummy. It's a reissue on the great Cheer Squad label. Yeah, originally was on Waterfront Records, which we all know and love. What a brilliant label. Got a lot of great 7-inches. Should do a special on that one day. I hear you, Garner. I hear you. They have said that this is the one where they actually decided not to swear as much and tighten up the songs a bit. But they're not like polished or anything. It's just a bit cleaner production. Yeah, and they still got that sort of more. They're more melodic punk, but if you know the Hard-Ons, they still are quite edgy. Yeah, they were formed in Sydney back in 1982. Probably the most commercially successful punk rock independent band from Australia, these guys. Not bad for a bunch of high school kids. Yeah, and another interesting thing about them, they're a multicultural trio with Kesh De Silva, who's of Sri Lankan descent, Blackie, who's got Yugoslavian heritage, and Ray Ahn, who has Korean ancestry. So it's a great reflection of Australian multiculturalism, playing punk rock, man. Just how we want it. Yeah, so these guys obviously love punk, metal, have a bit of psychedelic feel in there as well. Very, very independent in spirit. Yeah, like the members deliberately set out to control their own career, like by recording, booking, and promoting themselves from the get-go, creating their own artwork. This is probably not the best example because they got a lot of wild artwork on earlier albums than this. Yeah, look it up, you'll see what I mean. Got a great sense of humor, awesome live, yeah, and great songwriting as well. Like especially this one. This is where it really comes together for me. Yeah, so let's have another look inside. Nice back cover there. And then, whew, check that shit out. Don't do that at home, kids. How many bands besides Gene Simmons do you know who does that? And I would say Nice recreation of the old Waterfront label there by Cheer Squad. That looks cool. Awesome green coloured vinyl. Let's get that back in there. Have a look if there's anything else inside. Nope. One more look at the cover. Beautifuls. Right. Last one, change of pace. Not many fuzzy, wild, distorted guitars on this one, but a great album all the same. This is the Underground Lovers, or as we like to call them down here, the Undies. Do Americans know what undies are? I'm pretty sure English people would. They're your jocks, your underwear, you know, your briefs, your smalls. Anyway, it's getting a little touch off track there. This is their debut album called Get to Notice, again on Cheer Squad, starting to pump out a lot of good reissues, which have been sadly overlooked for years. It was originally on Shock Records, come out in 1990. Of course, this is, the great mix of indie rock and sort of electronic sounds as well. Glenn Benny and Vincent I knew I'd stuff this up. It's either Giarusso or Giarusso. Please feel free to correct me. On vocals and guitar. And Glenn is also on guitar and vocals. So they were the guts of the group, but in 1988, they renamed them, formed in 1998 just as a duo, and then in 1990 they changed their name from GBVG to Underground Lovers, and they were joined by Richard Andrew on drums, Maurice Argiro bass guitar, Philip O'Neill on vocals, guitar and keyboard. Okay, so these guys, to know where they come from, influenced by Joy Division, New Order, early Cure, and our local underground electronic experimental scene. Really, really great band. Released a number of awesome records. Yeah, this one has been remastered as well, and apparently done in the original order that the band intended that to come out. The songs, that is. So a little bit of Cheer Squad promo in there. Let's have a look at the vinyl. Nice white vinyl there. Beautiful again. We like that. Yeah, these guys broke up for a number of years and got back together probably 10 years ago and have continued to pump out good records. So that's my, is that 5? I think it is. way longer than it should have, but thanks for sticking in there.